Welcome to the What Bitcoin Did podcast.
Hi there, how are you all? Welcome to the What Bitcoin Did podcast, which is brought to you by Kraken. Are you all well? It's pretty good for me, having a nice long break out here in Vietnam. Nice to get a holiday in after all the work this year. Did you enjoy my first show dedicated to the ATM part of the Bitcoin industry yesterday, discussing the operation of ATMs? Well, today we move on to manufacturers, and I have an interview with Karel Kyovsky from General Bytes. But first, I do have a message from my show sponsors. So firstly, today's show is brought to you by Coin ATM Radar. Buying from a machine is much more reliable and safer from meeting some random person in a random location. With Coin ATM Radar, you can find Bitcoin ATMs and other services where you can buy or sell crypto for cash. On their website, you can search by coin, address, and you can also search by geo area, so country, state, and city. You can also filter results. A lot of people complain about the fees for Bitcoin ATMs, where you can even filter by lowest fee. They also have a mobile app which is available on Apple and Google App Stores, and they also fully support operators. So if you operate one or even several machines, it definitely makes sense for you to submit your information about locations to Coin ATM Radar, which is free of charge and will bring additional visibility to your service. If you want to find out more, head over to coinatmradar.com, which is coinatmradar.com. Also, today's show is brought to you by LibertyX. If you want to buy Bitcoin instantly and don't want to wait days for a wire or bank transfer, you definitely need to check out LibertyX. They operate America's largest network of Bitcoin ATMs, cashiers, and kiosks with thousands of locations across 43 states. You can pay however you want, whether it's cash or debit card, and the process is super easy. I know because I tried it out when I was out in the States and I downloaded their app. All you need to do is download the app from the App Store and create a free account. You can search for your nearest purchase location, provide your Bitcoin address, and then you can complete your payment buying anything from $1 up to $3,000 a day. The Bitcoin is delivered for you instantly before you leave the store. To find out more, head over to libertyx.com, which is libertyx.com, or search for LibertyX in the Apple or Google App Stores. All right, so on to the show. And after we heard from Gil and Eric, a Bitcoin ATM operator yesterday, I thought it would be a good idea to move on to a manufacturer. So I got in touch with Karel, owner of General Bytes, who have recently become the largest Bitcoin ATM manufacturer. And this interview with Karel was great. He gives a very different insight into the industry, and we look at the sustainability of being an ATM manufacturer, how constant development and the implementation of new features are helping General Bytes stay ahead of the competition, and all the things that keeps Karel up at night. So I hope you enjoy the show. Make sure you check out every other show this week. And if you have any feedback, you know you can reach out to me. My email address is hello@whatbitcoindid.com. Hi there, Karel. How are you?
Yeah, hi, Peter. I'm fine. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, no problem at all. No problem at all. So, as you're aware, I'm going to be doing a special on ATMs. I've already spoke to Gil over at Athena, so I've learned a little bit about the operators, but now I want to learn a bit more about manufacturers. This is entirely new to me. This is entirely new part of Bitcoin to me and crypto. So I'm kind of like at your mercy to learn about this. But before we get going, it would be good it's always nice to find out the background of a guest. So could you just give me a bit of your background and how you came into the whole Bitcoin thing?
Sure. So my background is the programming. I was programming since I was 10. And when I sold my first company in 2011, I moved my office next to the hackerspace here in Prague, in Czech Republic. And the guys were there mining Bitcoins at that time. And I thought it's ridiculous. And also I was working there with one friend on the token for the banks. And then he moved to Trezor. His name is Stick from Trezor. So and when I was doing a project for my new company, General Bytes, before I didn't know that I would be doing ATMs, and I was working on embedded Android computer. I wanted to do the embedded computer, and I did the Indiegogo campaign, and it completely failed. It was big failure. And I was looking for a project where I can demonstrate that it's a good approach to have the Android in the devices, in the appliances. I was contacting the heating systems manufacturers, and they were not interested. They were interested only to have the cheapest device possible, and they were not interested in the connectivity to the network. And because I was influenced by the guys in the hackerspace, I thought, okay, maybe I'll do this proof of concept. I'll create the Bitcoin ATM. I already saw Lamassu and I saw the RoboCoin machines in the news, and I thought, well, yeah, maybe I can do this better, and I can just show it off. And after I think 3 months, I had the first machine which I put into the hackerspace, and ever since then, I and other guys in the company, we were just improving on the product until it's finished, and it took us 6 years, and it's still not perfect.
6 years.
Yeah, it's from 2013. Yes, we started.
Wow.
So,
When were your first machines actually available for the public to use? Was it 2014?
yes, it was February 2014, and that was the first installation in the hackerspace. It was there also for hackers to play with that, and they were actually able to hack the machine. So the first bounty I actually paid to the hackers in the hackerspace. Yeah, they were playing Angry Birds on the machine. So that was the very first security audit of the machine. But after that, we improved a lot, really.
When was the first like commercial machine like we would see today?
The first commercial, and after that, I think it was May 2014. There was a conference in Amsterdam. It was called Bitcoin 2014, and that was, I think, the first big show there, the first exhibition. So I went there with the machines, and there I presented the machine, and at first I sold. Actually, the guy who was exhibiting next to me, he bought the first machines from me. So that was the first sale, but I delivered 1 month after. He wanted to take the machines from me directly from the booth, but I told him, no, it's not finished. So and that guy, the very first customer, his name is Martin Wismeyer, and he is now working for General Bytes as a marketing manager.
Right,
So,
okay. There's the connection.
yeah, so the first customer is actually also shareholder of General Bytes.
Were you the first company to have a commercial Bitcoin ATM in the market?
No, not at all. The first machine was, I believe, developed by Lamassu. They had
okay.
it. They had it on the as a part of some hackathon. It wasn't for sales. It wasn't for commercial purposes. So then was the RoboCoin machine, and I think they launched in 2013, somewhere in November, something like this, if I'm not mistaken. And they were the first who were selling the machines, but they were delivering a year after or half a year after. That was a big demand, so nobody expected that. So the first, I think, commercially available was the RoboCoin machine.
And were you a operator as well as a manufacturer, or were you only ever a manufacturer selling them on to others?
We do operate the machines in Czech Republic, in Prague,
Okay.
but only for the purpose that we know what it takes to operate the machine. That it's not just a theoretical project, but that we also know what are the pitfalls, what makes it more effective to operate the machine.
Okay. And talk me through the biggest challenges that you had, both technically, in terms of regulations, in terms of operations, in getting a machine into the market, because it can't have been easy.
So I think the biggest challenge was to enter the US market. I think that was the first challenge, to convince US customers that they should try our product from Eastern Europe. So the beginning, it was hard because we were also number 5 when we started. There were already 4 manufacturers ahead of us who already had the deployment. So I think at that time it was hard. We had to talk hours with every customer. And now when we have so many deployments and we have some track records, it's not so hard to sell. So at that time that was hard. also our mail server once was hacked, company mail server. So that was also hard for us because it was surprise, and we had to like lock everything and find out what happened. And I was really scared, and we didn't know how to communicate to that customers. So luckily for us, only the mail server was hacked at that time, and we transparently communicated that to the customers, and they were okay with that. So
Did you have to go through any regulatory process to actually enter into the US market?
no, we didn't have to. The only thing which we went through is the certification of the device itself, but that's easy. That's easy. We had to set up the office in Florida, which we did a couple of years after. Also, I tried to operate machines in US, in Florida, but that didn't go well because I founded the company there with the guys from local community, Bitcoin community, and because I spent all of my time in Prague, basically they found out that they don't need me, they don't need General Bytes, that they are better alone. So
that sounds like they almost reneged on a deal. They kind of like agreed something and then said, "Yeah, we don't need you. Let's get rid of you."
I mean, everyone I asked, it's always like this. If you do the business with people and you are not physically present there, I was going there only once a year just to do the accounting, and I was helping here from Prague, but it's just by sending the machines, providing the loans, and it didn't work out. So since then, I said, okay, I'm not going to do any business like this. I'll do business only in the companies where I am physically present.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, when I was looking into the manufacturers, the two main ones that stood out were obviously yourself, General Bytes, and Genesis Coin. But also, and you just mentioned them, Lamassu, I was also aware of those. Are you essentially the three main manufacturers in the market, or are there lots of them?
I think you also missed BitAccess.
Okay.
They were also one of the first manufacturers. Then somewhere like maybe 1 year ago, they had pretty low number of the machines, but then they joined with CoinCloud, I think, and they have pretty high number of the machines as a single operator. So
Okay.
I would mention them too.
So what are the main differences between yourself, those guys, Lamassu and Genesis Coin? Say if I wanted to be an operator and I was thinking, right, these are the different manufacturers I could go to, these who I could order from. What are going to be the main differences?
Okay, so it's hard to talk publicly about the competition because I might not be correct. But the main difference is the Genesis Coin. That's number 2 now. But basically, they have the same market share as we have. So they don't manufacture the machines. They have third party which is manufacturing the ATMs, and they just develop the software. Basically, they send the CD to the factory, and you get the machine, and they charge you like
It's like 1 to 1.5%.
Yeah, they charge you the percentage on top of your exchange rate. So their business model is basically like license fee or loyalty fee.
Right. Okay.
They are selling the big machines. I think their price is starting around 6,000 something or 7,000. We went with different approach. Maybe I should mention also Lamassu. Lamassu is manufacturing very nice machines, and they were the first ones, and they are really focused on the design, even in the UI. But their machines are expensive, and they made the software open source. But the open source software doesn't work much in this ATM market because no operator wants to contribute the software to the shared repository. When they develop some feature, they want to keep it for themselves, and they're not interested in sharing the competitive advantage. So I think the Lamasu, for example, disadvantage is that the software is not that good, but it's open source.
Right.
And also, I think they're committing a little. They're not contributing that much. They don't write that much software as we do, for example, in terms of, for example, source code lines, if you will.
And I guess the primary role of the software is the relationship between the user and some kind of exchange for either buying or selling your Bitcoin.
Yes, the software is actually the essential part of the ATM operation. Usually, the users see just the physical machine, the metal, and the computer, but the main thing is actually happening on the back end, on the server side. So where the transactions are being executed. So yes, in some scenarios it can work that you insert the cash into the machine and server will buy on demand on some exchange the coins and send them to the customer. In some regulations in US, for example, you have to sell the coins from your stock, from your wallet. So in the wallet management, the connectors on different exchanges, the different strategies, how you handle the coins, a remote configuration of the machines, the stability of the software, that the machines are 24/7 operational. That's important. I didn't finish on the competitive differences, if I
Oh,
may.
yeah. Because
About,
I need to know yours.
yeah, about us. So we went with the approach to have the multiple different models. Right now we have, I think, 5 different models. So we have also the cheapest one. So I think that's the reason why we were successful. That because we had the very cheap model, but customers who are interested in more secure solution can buy the very expensive one, not very expensive, but more expensive model. So it was, I think, the range of the machines. That's the one of the differences. Second difference is that we really invested all the money which we made on the machines. We invested into the software, so we have quite big development team, and we work every day on improving the software. So far, we didn't have the service fee on the ATMs, but like Genesis Coin has. But we will have to introduce that, and we signalize that to the customers that we will have to start charging server license fee, because no longer it's possible to finance the software development and the maintenance of the software and the new features from the sales of the machines, because there is a lower and lower number of the new customers, new ATM operators entering the market due to high regulation barrier. Let's say it's hard to find a bank which will support you in operating the machines, and also it's hard to get all the licenses which pop up on in every country around the world.
Who takes responsibility for that? So if I was to order a machine, say from you, am I buying a box with software and I have to do everything else in terms of regulations and licenses, or do you arrange for the licenses?
The operator is responsible for all of that. We provide you with the tool, sophisticated tool, which you can configure based on your AML policies. You can configure it that you want to collect the phone number from the customer, scan of the ID card, social security number, all that. And it's your responsibility. Basically, you as an ATM operator, you have to build the KYC AML policy, and you have to find the lawyer in your area to help you to identify what's your responsibility in your state, because it's in US it's different state to state, and it's impossible to guarantee anything for the customer, and it's changing everywhere every year in every country.
Yeah. So okay. So you essentially provide the box with the software for them to set up based on their own country and their own regulations, which is great. But also, I guess what you're saying is, it's very difficult for you to fund and operate a business based on just machine sales alone, because I guess that's an inconsistent model. You need the consistency of a software license so you can manage and update and support the software.
Yes, I think the market, before it was possible because the market was still immature, and the new ATMs were popping up, new operators, not the ATMs, but the operators were popping up every week. But I think now when the market, where the rules are tougher and tougher, the market consolidates. There is one operator buying another operator, so it's no longer possible to grow that fast from the machine sales. But the cryptocurrency ecosystem is still evolving. It's still in for example, Monero and other cryptocurrencies they are still adding new and new features, and somebody has to add the features to the ATM to handle those. So that's why ongoing payments are needed.
So you can buy Monero from one of your ATMs then?
Of course.
Okay, that's cool. And so what coins do your machine support? Can it support anything, or are there a certain number of only like restricted coins it can support?
Okay, so first of all, we support some basic set of the coins, but you as an ATM owner, you can program support for your own coin. So we have a GitHub repository, which is open source, and there are examples how to implement support for your coin or for different coin. So for example, Bitcoin Cash is there, or I don't know, some another. So of course we support the Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, Dash, Bitcoin Cash, what else? Monero, ERC20 tokens. But some of the currencies we don't support two-way because that's more complicated. So either the customer didn't implement it in the GitHub repository and is still waiting for a contributor to add his contribution there, or there was no demand, or it will be added in the future. Also, recently we added the Lightning Network support. So I'm really curious how the Lightning Network will work on the ATMs, because it has its shortcomings, and I'm interested how it turns out, if it will be usable enough by the customers.
Okay, well, we'll come to Lightning because I'd like to talk to you about that in a bit more detail.
Sure,
Let's talk about the fact that with your software that people are able to add their own coins. When you said there's not two-way support, what did you mean by that?
Okay. One way support we call the direction from cash to crypto, which is essentially easy because basically you accept the cash and you just send some coins from wallet to the destination address. The two-way support means that it's cash to crypto, but also crypto to cash. And that's more complicated because you have to send the coin, you have to tell customer where to send the coins. Then you have to check if he sent enough, if he sent enough fee, if the transaction has enough confirmations. That differs based on the cryptocurrencies. And after that, you let the customer to withdraw the cash from the ATM. So that's more complicated. So two-way is both directions.
Has that received any kind of negative feedback in that you're allowing for support of lots of different coins? Because I guess different coins have different kind of respect within the industry, or like Bitcoin is king, and as we know, lots of other coins are known as shit coins. Has that led to maybe just a lower quality of coins available on the machines?
Okay, so we as a General Bytes, we implement support only by ourselves, only for coins which we think are valuable. We encourage customers, they can implement any coin they want. We don't care because we are not here to judge. I personally, I'm not Bitcoin maximalist. I think there should be competition between the coins itself. I believe the coins are basically the applications, and it's healthy to have a ecosystem where you have multiple coins and they steal the features from each other. I think without the Litecoin, we wouldn't have the SegWit yet. And only I think because the Litecoin adopted the SegWit, then it pushed Bitcoin miners to use the SegWit too, or to approve the SegWit too. So yes, we had the incidents where we saw that the customer wants to implement some basically scam coin, and we told them that we will not do that. If they buy the machine, we don't care, but we don't encourage that.
So there is a risk that someone could exploit the software to promote a scam coin, and you guys can't control that.
It's not exploiting, because basically every operator has to enable that coin by himself.
Uh-huh.
So it's ultimately the decision of the operator to enable that support and configure the support for that coin, because the operator has to install and configure the wallet for that coin, etc. So we are not here to judge the operators what coins they sell. I mean, if somebody creates his own coin and then he buys the machine, why not, right?
Okay, so it seems kind of interesting how some of the manufacturers have gone for kind of open source and some have gone for kind of closed. What do you see kind of the pros and cons of both approaches?
I think for the open source, you have to have the other business model. I think it's really hard to find a business model with the open source. And there are some products which are good for the open source and some are not good for open source. Typically, I think the open source should be used for the infrastructure, but you have to have the critical mass of the users, right? So if you have open source mobile phone, it's okay, because there's so many developers being able to hold the mobile and program for it. With the ATM, you have only a little of ATMs, and it's really hard to find developer and tell him, hey, look, program for this ATM. So I think the open source doesn't work on this. The advantage is that you can tweak anything on it almost by yourself. You can tailor it exactly to your needs. You don't have to care about the other features. The closed source model, which we have some part we have open source, some part we have closed source. We have open source only the part which enables operators to program plugins. We call it extensions for the server and support for the new coins. But for example, the ATM software is closed source, and the core of the server is also closed source. The advantage of the closed source is you have it under control, so you can really spend time on perfecting those features. Yes, you have to invest in that feature and that feature. You have to basically write features for all of your operators. They can't write it themselves, but they get it as a package. It's well tested. Right. You can guarantee that this release works. We tested it. And with open source software, you don't get so many developers. With the closed source, you might be able to have more developers because they have incentive. But there should be other advantages, but I can't think of it. Yeah, it's more integrated with the hardware. That's also one of the advantages, that we can write the software for just a few models which we have. We don't have to write the software which works with 10 different cameras, 10 different bill acceptors. So it helps on this side. But the open source software doesn't work, I think, for the ATMs, because ultimately, on the end, the user is ATM operator, and that's the business, and not the consumer. So, and the businesses are interested in something which is working, which may cost money, but they don't need it for free because it's generating their profit.
Yeah, exactly. Next up, I talked to Karel more about manufacturing Bitcoin ATMs, but before that, I do have a message from my amazing show sponsors. So just a quick shout out, firstly to Kraken. You know who they are. They're the best exchange in the world. With spot, futures, margin trading, their OTC desk, and indices, they've got all your trading needs covered. With security in their DNA, it is the only place I now buy and sell Bitcoin. If you want to join me in supporting Kraken, head over to kraken.com, which is KRAKEN.com. Also, my other regular main sponsor, BlockFi, the future of Bitcoin and financial services. They offer crypto-backed loans. They've got crypto interest accounts, which I'm using. You can find out more at blockfi.com, which is BLOCKFI.com. Next up, Dropbit, the best mobile wallet for Bitcoin. Text and tweet Bitcoin to your friends. It's just like a Venmo for Bitcoin. You got to check them out. Head over to dropbit.app, which is DROPBIT.app. And last but not leastly, Accounting, the best tax calculator in the market. Also includes an amazing portfolio manager, and it connects to all major wallets and exchanges. If you want to find out more, head over to accointing.com, which is ACCOINTING.com. Interestingly, today I released an interview with Nick Percoco, who's the Chief Security Officer at Kraken. So I spent a good hour and a half with him learning about the history of hacking and how all the main challenges they have with the exchange. I imagine like hacking and security is quite important in this industry, not knowing, what the attack vectors are, but, do people directly try and hack into the machines in locations, or are they remotely trying to hack? Like, what are the attack vectors you guys face as a manufacturer, and how important is software and security with what you do?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So I think in terms of software, no software is perfect. So only thing which we can do is to have the regular security audits. So every year we give our software to a security company, and they try to hack it, like not the real production system, but the test system with the exactly the same software. So they check if we check properly the certificates, etc. So that's the software. We also get from some of the customers, we got their security audit results. So we had customers who provided us with the reports from their audits, and we implemented their findings or fixes for their findings. The main attack vector of the ATMs at this moment is the physical attack. So
right.
And so if you have like 50 kilo ATM, and you take let's say, or no, maybe 25 kilo ATM, and you take 50 kilo hammer, it's gonna be the hammer which is gonna win, right? So it's really we did a lots of improvements on the machines. That's also good part of having the design under the control, that we made. With every batch we add a new feature, not add, but the change some of the things on the machines, for example, to assemble it faster or to manufacture it faster, but also to improve the security. So we did quite a lot of security checks. We also did the crash tests on the ATMs to check if somebody hits it, where it's gonna bend, and how to bend it and still have it closed. So attack vector is the hammer still.
So that is people just trying to get into the machine and steal the cash?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. But is there any other attack vector where people are trying to hack the machine to trick it into thinking money is deposited and buy Bitcoin? Is that any kind of attack you face?
I noticed, I think it was on the beginning of this year, there was an operator who was attacked by the zero confirmations attack. Basically, somebody wants to withdraw the cash from the ATM, and the operator enabled the zero confirmations. So zero confirmations is basically that you give somebody the cash before the transaction gets into the blockchain, which we don't recommend, of course. But the algorithms work. But these algorithms work that, for example, you watch the blockchain, you calculate how big is the fee, what is the chance to get the transaction into the block in a reasonable time, and based on that you can calculate the risk and you can allow this strategy. Or for example, if you will see competing transaction on the blockchain in the memory pool, you will disable the withdraw. But still, this is the only software attack which we saw so far, and this is something which cannot be fixed. I mean, only Lightning can fix it, or the Dash instant send transactions can fix this, that you can instantly be sure that the coins are yours. All other are just workarounds. There are frameworks to calculate the risk, but it's always, if you transmit the transaction with high fee, you can always double spend anything. It's just matter of miner to accept your transaction. You can't do anything with that. Once we saw on the Wall Street market that somebody was selling the exploit for Bitcoin ATMs, but it was a scam. It wasn't real. So other attacks would be the DDoS on the operator, but mostly the attacks are just the physical attacks.
Interestingly, this part of the Bitcoin industry is still kind of relatively unknown. It's kind of like, so for example, if you want to go and use an exchange, pretty much everybody knows all the major exchanges. You know, I could tell you the difference between Coinbase and Kraken, the pros and cons of both. And most people in the industry kind of know this, but within the ATM industry, I guess it's less well known. Is there the opportunity for, like, in the UK, we would call them cowboys, like cowboy manufacturers to come in, create machines, sell a dream, and then actually not be able to deliver? And is that something you've had to kind of combat as an industry?
That was happening in 2014, I think. These small startups which created few machines, and then they raised money, and then they went for different projects. For example, I think that was BTC Point. I think it was a Spanish ATM manufacturer. In 2014, they were exhibiting in the May, and I think on the end of the year, they were already in San Francisco working on different projects. And there were lots of companies which were working on the ATMs at that time, at that early time, in Asia too. There were I think there were at least 20, 30 different companies which tried it, but I think only the ones who were just keeping on working on it survived or were successful. I think it was just a matter of not taking other opportunities, but just work on it.
Okay, so if I was considering moving into this, Karel, and I was thinking, right, I want to get a Bitcoin ATM in Bedford, I want to work with General Bytes, what kind of support do you offer to somebody, firstly, as somebody new entering, so as somebody completely new buying my first machine, what kind of support do you offer in terms of kind of setting up and getting going? And then what kind of ongoing support do you offer companies who kind of want to expand and, you know, say if I bought, after buying my first one, I wanted to buy a few more? How does that work?
Right. We would recommend you to order the machine through our website. That's the channel which is streamlined for you. All the questions sales will answer. And when we sell you the machines, we send you the machine via DHL. You receive the machine. You write us that you received the machine, and we give you the keys for the software, and you are ready to go. And in the manual, you will find the links to YouTube videos on how to configure the machine. We are constantly redoing the videos. And basically, those are hours and hours to watch what to configure, how to configure it. There are also videos on how to order the machine. Those are your first steps to learn how to configure the machine from the YouTube videos. We also
Okay.
have the support guys here in Prague and in US, where you can, if you are a customer, you can send their email and we respond you in 24 hours. So I think most of the questions we get is how do I configure this, and second is how can you please add this essential feature for me. Also, we receive the software bug reports from customers, which we try to fix with the software releases, which we do every 14 days.
So if somebody requests a new feature, is it something you have to provide for everyone, or do you go down that route of doing customized versions for each customer?
We try to deliver the feature for everyone, like to implement it free of charge and deliver it to everyone, because otherwise it wouldn't make sense for us, because we have limited resources. We have only like a few programmers which work on ATM itself. We have programmers for server, programmers for terminal, and we just can't do the custom development for everyone, right? We don't have enough developers. So yes, for some cases we do, for example, the software audits. When customer writes his own extension of the server and he send it to us for audit, yes, we can do that. That's quick. But mostly we tell them to write a soft improvement ticket, and we will add it into the pipeline, into the roadmap. And based on how the feature is complicated or how important it is or how it fits existing roadmap milestones, we will implement it.
Okay. I'd like to understand a little bit more about the economics behind this, and I've done my best to do my research and kind of understand how you kind of differ from other companies. As I understand it, up until recently, you had one of the most affordable solutions. So am I right in thinking your machines were around $3,000?
Yes. The cheapest model, yes.
Yeah, the cheapest one. And some of your competitors had kind of, you would probably argue, more solid machines at maybe 6,000 to 7,000 per unit. What's your kind of model now, and what's your pricing model, and what are the economics behind this? Because you did announce a price change recently, right?
Yes. So basically, what we need to do is we need to double the size of the software development team. So far we were able to finance that from the machine sales. The machine sales are decreasing basically, or not with every operator, but some operators are super successful. They buy 10 machines a week. But because the globally, not just in the US, but the globally, the market is consolidating. The sales of the machines are sufficient to finance the maintenance of the software and slow development. But we need to add new features and innovate. So we need a second income to finance that. So the plan is to double the size of the development team.
So that price change, is that only for new customers and new machines ordered, or does that actually affect previous orders?
It's affecting everyone, every customer. And basically the customers, they can continue on operating their own machines, nothing will happen. But if they want access to a new software, new developed software, they need to participate on that.
Have you had much feedback on this price change?
I did get a feedback. Actually, I also established a new email address where customers could send me their arguments, and some of the customers I gave discount, for example, for some limited time, so they can accommodate. Some customers, they don't know the economics behind that, how expensive the programmers are nowadays.
Yeah,
because,
of course.
Because even if you are sitting in Czech Republic, very far from San Francisco, you are still competing with those San Francisco companies because they are able to hire the programmers here, and because the video conferences, including our conversation, are really easy to make across the ocean. So they have the American salaries. So it's really expensive exercise here too. So I think majority of the customers, they accepted it, the biggest customers I visited personally, the ones who have more than 100 machines. Some of the customers, they didn't like it. It's some of the customers who are not satisfied at all. They had, for example, just one machine. So
that's typical, though. Like, I remember when I had my advertising agencies, it was the lowest spending clients that were the most demanding. You always tend to find that. I think that's in almost every industry.
Yeah, I think it has something to do, like, if you have lots of machine, you start to understand, and you have stuff, you start to understand that things cost money, right? So if you do ice cream, and the water is more expensive, you have to increase price of the ice cream, but you just can't start to complain about the price of the water.
Well, you've got different economies of scale. You know, if you're operating one machine, you're probably doing so on a very, fine margin, and any difference to that's kind of scary. Whereas if you can buy 10, 15 machines, you've probably got better economies of scale. So that doesn't surprise me. All right, let's get onto the Lightning Network, because you've mentioned support for that. I'll be very interested to hear, how you intend to deliver it, what your thoughts are on it. What are the challenges that come with it? Because, yes, I think this is super interesting.
It's very early on to give a comment on that, but we have it on the ATM in a way that when you click on Bitcoin Lightning, you can open a channel optionally, or you can buy or sell coins. So there are issues. Number one is the capacity of the Lightning Network. So not everyone is happy to lock in the coins into the network just for the very low fees in the network. So I think number one issue is the capacity. So for the small payments like the coffee, it should work. Like if you go to the ATM, you will buy Lightning Bitcoin, and then you pay for the coffee. It's gonna work fine. But for the high values, it's not gonna work. And the biggest issue is, I think it's super complicated for the users. I think at this stage, it took us 6 years to explain customers what is the Bitcoin address, and now we have to explain them what is the channel. That's super hard, and you have to explain them that the coins are locked in a channel. Those are going to be released. If you send them somewhere, you have their zero. Then if you want to send coins somewhere, you have to log them. It's really complicated. So the ultimate, I think, result of the Lightning Network will be that we will all have custodian wallets. We will have the wallet in the mobile phone, but the node will be run somewhere else by the third party who will be managing the channels. The users will not know anything about the channel. So it's gonna be a really long way.
See, it's funny. I totally agree with you. I don't think. How do I put this without pissing off some listeners? I don't think people are being as realistic as they should be about the current status of Lightning, which isn't meant in any way to discredit any of the good and hard work that's been done so far. I think the fact that if I wanted to send you an invoice, you could pay it and it would instantly settle pretty much, and that's great. Okay. But at the same time, the user experience is actually quite different from base chain Bitcoin, which itself, as you said, is hard enough to teach people. To then teach this whole other experience, it complicates it further, and I think people are avoiding this.
Yeah. So and Lightning essentially just leads to decentralization. It will have lower fees, but it will be more centralized. But from the user point of view, it's really bad user experience. But it's not the fault of the Lightning. I think it's just gonna take time.
Yeah.
To standardize again everything, and all these scenarios which might happen. For example, it's really it's this invoices, it has to be more flexible, and we implemented the support for the Lightning on the ATMs just to help to push the Lightning forward, so that we can find all the pitfalls and to help to move it forward and fix few things. For example, the invoices, you have to, if you want to send somebody the coins, he has to tell you first how many coins you have to send, right?
No, I don't understand that. I've always found that kind of annoying.
So for example, in front of the ATM, if you want to send coins to the, no, if you want to receive coins from the ATM, usually on the base chain, you basically, what you would do is you just go to the ATM and you insert the cash, show the address, that's it. But here with the Lightning, you would have to first show how much Bitcoin you want to receive within the invoice, then they insert the cash, and then to receive it. So we had to use a few hacks that it is an invoice without the amount, or there are some scenarios which are not tested yet. So
Right.
so these are the things which work, for example, with Eclair wallet node, but doesn't work with LDN. So this, it needs more time, and I'm worried that it's gonna take again 5 years. It's
We do in another 5 years.
yeah. So
If it's another 5 years, the Bcashers will be throwing a lot of mud at Lightning for that.
I don't know, but it's yeah. Maybe there is no other choice.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, look, I like it, and I actually have started to use Lightning, but sometimes I'm actually comfortable spending a little bit extra paying the on-chain fee to do an on-chain transaction than to go through the hassle of doing a Lightning transaction because of the UX. It's like if I had to do like $100 transaction, and if it cost me another $1 or $2 to do it on the base chain, I probably would, because Lightning doesn't offer me enough yet to switch over. But I just think that's because, we are still early, but, give it some time. I'll probably get shot for that statement as well. All right, well, listen, look, this has been great. I've learned so much from you. Thank you, Karel. I've got a few more questions to close out with you first.
Sure, go ahead.
So what are the main kind of difficulties and challenges for you in running such a business as this?
I think it's the regulation. I think now we have to add. I think we spend at least half of our time just for features which are related to the regulation. I'm thinking about the challenges.
You got to think what keeps you up at night. What has you pulling your hair out?
I think the competition always. I think it's the competition. I think it's good. I think it's good always, because sometimes I'm lazy to add some feature, but when you see that the competition has it or is working on it, you just can't not to do that, right? So
right, okay.
I think it's healthy. So when I see competition that they added something which we already had few years, I have to come up with something else. So I think it's the pressure from the competition.
Interesting. So competition and regulations. If new manufacturers were thinking of coming into the market, obviously you would recommend they don't, because you don't want more competition. But if there are new ones coming into it, is that actually good? Like, is more competition good for you, if you're really honest?
Yeah, I think it's still good. I think it's good if it's fair competition. I mean, if they play fair, for example, that they really deliver what they promise, because otherwise it's bad reputation for the business.
A bit like RoboCoin.
Yeah, RoboCoin. I completely understand those guys why they failed. It's not their fault. They were victims of their success. They were not ready for that.
Right. So they because you can a business can fail from growing too quickly. You just run out of money.
I think they didn't run out of money. They just were not mature enough to handle all that demand. And yeah, I think it was young team and small team at that time, the RoboCoin. and they didn't listen to the customers. I think that's also one of the things which we really do. We don't add the features which we want. We add the features which customers want, and I think that's essential too.
What about like what happened with Skyhook? I read about Skyhook. They had a very well-priced machine, and you kind of were selling to the hobbyists, but they ended up becoming quite unresponsive and poor at support. What do you kind of made out of what happened there?
My thoughts when I saw that is not sustainable model. That
Right.
basically I think it wasn't generating any profit, so there was no incentive to continue in the project. That's number one. Number two, they were using bill acceptors which supported only euro and US dollar, and maybe I think not all the euro banknotes, and maybe they also supported Australian dollar, but that was all. Another point was there that it wasn't ready for the production use. I mean, it was still more hobby than to create a network of it. The security was low. I think it was very small, but that was because it was cheap. So yeah, it wasn't. And the ATM companies are operators. They need a solid solution which is always online, which is pretty much secure. And I think Skyhook didn't fulfill that. And they were using the open source model, which don't work for the ATM business, or at least it didn't work so far.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, listen, this has been super useful. I feel like I've learned a whole bunch more now from you. I don't think I'm ready to become a manufacturer myself, but maybe one day I'll buy myself a General Bytes machine, get a Bitcoin ATM in Bedford. But this has been really useful. Look, before we go, just tell people how they can find out more about your business, how they can get in touch, who you want to hear from, and give you a shout out for your company.
Sure. So you can read about us if you write into Google General Bytes, and on our website you will find a link to our Twitter, to our YouTube videos, etc. I think that's there you can find all about the ATMs, and this is the product which we concentrate on. We don't do many products. This is our main product.
Fantastic. Okay, well, look, it's been great to talk to you. Good luck with business, and hopefully one day I'm going to get myself over to Prague because I've never been there, and we can get one of those good Czech beers in.
Sure, I will be happy to host you here. Thank you for inviting me.
No problem. Take care. All right, how was that? Thanks for listening. What did you think of the second episode for ATM Week? Pretty cool, right? Pretty cool to hear from Karel. I thought it was great. He gave a bit of a different perspective and insight to Gil and Eric yesterday, and in a market which is growing so quickly, I was surprised to hear that they are having to look at different revenue streams in order to grow the business. I do find the Lightning implementation interesting, pretty cool if they nail it. It makes quite a lot of sense really for Bitcoin ATMs because it was going to give even faster settlement, but I completely agree with Karel. Parts of Lightning now are still too difficult to use. I know not everyone agrees, but that's just been my feeling, my experience so far. I'm a big fan of Lightning, but I still think there's some work to go. I think it's still a bit too tricky for newcomers. So hopefully over the next year or so, we're going to see a lot of change. And also, if you checked out my interview with John Newbury on the show last week, he suggested it's going to be even easier to use on-chain transactions in the future. So that's pretty exciting when it all comes together. Should be pretty cool for users. So I do want to say thank you to Karel for coming on the show, and make sure you keep an eye out for the next episode in the ATM series, which will be out tomorrow. And if you do have any feedback, you can get in touch. My email address is hello@whatbitcoindid.com. If you do want to support the show, there's loads of things you can do. It's all available on my website. Just head over to whatbitcoindid.com, click on the support section. I'm not going to go through it now because I want to go and hit the pool. I think my kids are waiting for me. But as ever, if you do want to get in touch, my email address is hello@whatbitcoindid.com, and I will get back to you as soon as I can.